Okay, I'm going to read something to you, and I want you to get as close to your screen as possible. And I want you to turn the volume up. This is very important. The American Medical Association officially classified obesity as a disease on June 18th, 2013, aiming to reduce stigma and increase treatment. While the World Health Organization recognized it as a disease much earlier, like 1948, the 2013 AMA decision marked a major shift in the US medical industry toward treating obesity as a chronic condition. That's worth saying again, a chronic condition requiring medical intervention rather than a lifestyle failure. That's worth saying again. Requiring medical intervention rather than a lifestyle failure. Welcome to the Health Reset. My name is Mike. I'm glad you're here. The reason that is important is because I think most people that are obese or overweight, people are often told that, why can't you just eat less? Just eat less and exercise more, right? A little bit of truth to that, right? I think in order to lose weight, you do have to be in a calorie deficit, meaning that you're burning more calories than you're taking in. But a very simple concept that's very hard to apply to our lives, because obesity is a medical condition. It doesn't mean that we're weak. It doesn't mean that bros at the gym have more motivation than we do. So what I'm finding out a little bit more in a lot of this, or more research and reading that I've been doing, is that a lot of people, especially overweight and obese people, we don't have a signal that goes to our brain from our stomach saying, hey, we're full, let's shut it down for a while. And I know that's the case with me. I mean, constantly hungry, constantly eating whenever I could, as much food as I could. The more it was sugary, the more it was carbs, the more I wanted. I would kid around a lot. I'd say, hey, when that fullness hits, just power through it and keep eating. And it was kind of a joke, but it kind of wasn't, because I never felt that. Like, I would almost eat until I felt full to the point that I was sick, but I never got a signal that hey, we're satisfied, we don't need any more food right now. So classifying this as a disease is huge. I mean, there's a lot of diseases right out there where it's like high blood pressure. People don't say, hey, just, settle down, and, stress causes high blood pressure. Settle down a little bit. I mean, you take medication for it and you help the disease, right? So I started this journey. This will be week 6, and I called it the Health Reset because I want to not only get to and I was saying I want to get to a healthy weight. And since I've kind of thought about that, and I want to get to a healthy body fat percentage, and I want to get to a healthy percentage of lean muscle mass. So those two things go hand in hand to make up the total number, the weight on the scale. And on a regular scale, it's hard to see that, right? You can look at two people that are, say, the same height, weigh the same exact amount, they'll look totally different. And that's because their body fat percentages, chances aren't exactly the same, and their lean muscle mass isn't exactly the same. There's tissue and bones and things like that that make up your total weight too. But the other two things we can control to a certain degree, right? So that's kind of where I am. I don't have a goal weight. I have those goals in mind, and I also, a huge goal is improving all my labs, all my blood work. So with that being said, I can track some of my blood work, glucose levels, blood sugar levels, and also my blood pressure week to week. Other things like cholesterol, A1C, which your average glucose, your blood sugar level over a 3-month period. Those things are going to have to wait until I think I go back to the doctor in it would be about a little less than 2 months to get blood work done and figure those things out again. But I'm super excited because all of my other numbers are trending in a great direction. So anyway, if you're in the same boat that I am, that, hey, I can't turn this off, I never like get that I'm full satisfied, shut it down, don't eat anymore, brain and the stomach are communicating, there are medications out there to help this. And kind of go back a little bit on my story. So probably been overweight most of my life, I would say, if you looked at like those charts that talk about height and weight. But like when I was younger, when I was in school, like in high school, I mean, I played sports, worked out quite a bit, but I was still probably overweight if you looked at those charts. And then after I graduated high school, right before I went to college that summer, I was really kind of working out, really watching what I was eating. So at that point in my life, I felt like I, kind of could get it under control. And I probably lost about 20 or 30 pounds from what I was like typically in high school. Over that summer, I got down to like 198 pounds, which for me then, I felt really great. I felt, almost, really skinny for me. That lasted about 2.5 months till I went to college, started putting on weight. And I remember one time in college, I was like 240. And I thought, man, that's, I'm like 42 pounds higher than I was. Then I got out of college, continued to put on more weight off and on. I went to school, my degree's in aviation. So I was a flight instructor. I flew charter, flew corporate for a little while. So as a pilot, I was always trying to keep it somewhat under control. I was still bigger than a lot of the other pilots out there, but I felt okay. I was healthy. I mean, I had to get an FAA physical every 6 months, and all my numbers were always good. Now, over the years, and then I went to fly for the airlines for 14 years. So over the years, by getting all these medicals and stuff, my numbers were always good. Never had one doctor say, hey, we need to lose some weight here. Not once. I knew it though, a lot of people don't know what to do. I knew what to do. I knew what to eat and all this. I just couldn't help myself. Hence this medical condition, this chronic medical condition of obesity. I knew it was going to catch up with me sooner or later. So, 2.5 years or so ago, I get my blood sugar taken to the doctor's like 140, which isn't good. Fasting's 70 to 99 is normal. I was at 140. A1C came back, which is that average over 3 months, and I was like 7.2 or 7.6 or something like that, which is diabetic. You're supposed to have 2 of those A1C tests come back above that range to be considered. So they want some, consistently being in that range. And I kind of got under control a little bit with diet. I was on Jardiance, which is a medication that makes you pee out excess blood sugar or sugar in your blood. And I think that brought it down more than anything. And I was like 6.2, which is still diabetic. So officially a diabetic like 2.5 years ago. Still wasn't doing anything to like control, my blood sugar levels, or my weight. I'm like, hey, you get a headache, take a pill, help get rid of the headache. Got high blood pressure, which I did, high blood pressure medication, that helps it. Got sleep apnea? I do. I sleep with a CPAP machine, that helps control it. So there's always something that I'm looking for or was looking for that would control, things that I had going on health-wise. A lot of them are pretty effective. But I don't want to rely on medication. It may stop working, who knows? I want to get as healthy as I can, control what I can. So then, about 6 months after being diabetic, I found out that I had cancer. So I had melanoma. Melanoma is a very aggressive form of skin cancer. And I had surgery, I had a skin graft, all this kind of stuff to fix the spot that they took off. And then I ended up with some complications, blood clots in one of my lungs and fluid around the outside of one of my lungs and all this kind of stuff. Recovered from that, had my first 6-month scan for cancer, and the first one came back. It was now a lymph node in my neck. So, you go through a lot of very dark thoughts almost immediately with the diagnosis, right? Especially when you start reading about it, which can be pretty scary. So I ended up having about 45 lymph nodes removed from the left side of my neck, which is where the cancerous one was. And it was cancerous off of a biopsy. So we knew it was cancer. I ended up going through some immunotherapy before they removed the lymph nodes and all the others. And when they did the surgery and removed them, the doctor said, everything looks clear. We sent it to pathology. Even the one that biopsy came back positive. So he said I could clearly tell which one it was when I took it out. So I said the immunotherapy must be pretty effective, and he said it was. So that's awesome. Feel super fortunate to be living in the 2024 to 2026 time range that we're in right now, because like 10 years ago, this was the death sentence. There was no chemotherapy, doesn't work on it. Radiation, there's nothing that was effective, right? They would say, hey, go home, get your stuff in order, and good luck. So I'm very fortunate. And if you are dealing with cancer right now, things are changing rapidly. So don't give up hope. Find some support around you, because things are changing, almost daily in the cancer treatment realm. So anyway, I recovered from that, and 6 months later, finally, first week in January, I had my first rescan, and it was clear. So nothing that they can find. They don't ever say you're cancer free, really. Sometimes they don't even say you're in remission. They say there's no evidence of cancer. So they just can't find any, and that's great. So hopefully that trend continues. In the meantime, I've got this great surgeon, one of the most well-known surgeons in the country for cancer, for my type of cancer, melanoma. I've got an awesome oncologist. They both communicate, great together. I've got a nurse practitioner that I see a lot in the oncology office, and she is awesome as well. I've got a cardiologist. I've got this sleep thing that I went to, this sleep study, right? I've got what else did I add lately? A rheumatologist. I don't know what that was, but I got one now. Great guy too. And I've got the most awesome family doctor that anyone could ever want. I feel like he's a partner. He's interested in what I got going on, and he's trying to work with me to get healthier, which is, I feel like he's a doctor friend, so to speak. By the way, I'm not a doctor. This is my story, and I'm hoping by sharing it with you that it resonates somehow. And if you're looking to be a part of a community where we can all get healthy together in a positive environment, that's what I want. So I'd love to have you along for the rest of this journey. Anyway, great update coming up here in just a minute. Just want to finish this story. So anyway, just so you know where I'm coming from. I got all of these awesome doctors, and it just hit me one day. I'm like, you know what? I've got all these people in my corner pulling for me and doing everything they can, and I'm the weakest link, right? I keep saying this person's awesome, this person's awesome. I didn't feel like I was very awesome. I'm not keeping up my part, right? I'm eating whatever I want, hoping that this pill that they're giving me is helping my blood sugar. Sugar, from what I've researched, feeds cancer. So all these carbs and sugar that I'm eating it's hit me twice. It's affecting my blood sugars levels, but it's also affecting the cancer if there's any in there. So anyway, I finally decided I'm gonna be as awesome as the rest of my team, and do my part. After all, I've got awesome doctors, but it's my life. At the end of the day, they go home to their family, and I leave the office. So they can be awesome all they want, but the only person responsible for me is me. But I do feel like I got a great team around me. So anyway, all that being said, finally got my act together after that last clean scan. Talked to my doctor, and what's interesting is, so I've got two daughters. They're older now. One awesome little beautiful baby granddaughter who we got to see today, which was awesome. She's just coming up on 4 weeks old. Anyway, both of my daughters are nurses. So my wife, I don't know who started first. Both of my daughters have been on like a GLP-1 medication, which is like a Mounjaro, Ozempic. There's several of them. There's compound, those are the name brands, the two name brands I can think of. There's more. There's also compound pharmacies that compound the active ingredients. So it's the same drug, just under a generic, under a generic name. Anyway, I think both of my daughters were on, I'm pretty sure it was both of them, lost some weight on these drugs. My wife, who's never been that overweight, wanted to lose some weight and get healthier and feel more comfortable. And she lost quite a bit of weight. I didn't even think she had that much weight to lose, actually, on these drugs. And, here I am, the one needing it the most. And this is the honest to God, this channel is going to be honest. I mean, I don't edit these films hardly at all unless something's really wrong. And it's just me talking to you. And I want it to be me to you, and I hope it resonates. I'm sitting there watching my wife lose all this weight, and I'm thinking, I'd watch her eat dinner, and she would take eat maybe half her plate, not even that, maybe a quarter of her plate, and she'd be like, man, I'm full. I'm done, I'm full. And I seriously, this is my thought. I didn't think, hey, maybe this medicine could help me. I looked at her and I thought, man, that must be miserable. You can't eat? Because that's all I wanted to do is eat. I don't want anything that prevents me from eating. And that's how sad it was. But that's truly what I thought. So anyway, I go to my doctor, and he's looking at my numbers and stuff, and he says, hey, this medicine seems to be keeping your blood sugar under control and stuff, for the most part. And I said, yeah. I said, you know what, I could do a lot better because I don't exercise at all, and I don't eat well at all. I mean, by at all, I mean literally. You start off eating a candy bar, and maybe eat a candy bar a day, and most people go, man, that is terrible. You can't eat a candy bar a day, right? Then you add another one, and then you add another. Literally, like, I'd eat 3 candy bars a day, every day. Then it got to the point where it's like, well, could it get any worse than that? And then, I'd buy the bag. Candy bar wasn't enough. You got to buy the bag. You get the bag of peanuts. And then I found out, man, they got the family size. Well, they got the sharing size, which I never shared with anybody. You got the family size, and then you got the party size. So I was having the party size, party for one, me, and literally would eat like a bag of that a day. I mean, almost every day. It got to the point before I started this and getting serious, it was almost every day. That's on top of, everything else. I didn't eat much breakfast, which was weird because I never was super hungry in the morning, but man, the rest of the day, look out. We'd buy Girl Scout cookies, and I'd give the excuse, we got to help the girls. We got to support the girls, right? Well, you can give them money if you want to support them. So it's another excuse to buy those yummy, delicious Girl Scout cookies. Any excuse to buy any food, go into a store, we'd go in there to grocery shop. The first thing on my mind and the last thing on my mind till I got it was some sort of sugar. I want candy, I want cookies, I want donuts, I want, you name it, right? I had to get something every time I went in there. So I want to back up a second. When I was a kid, I remember being on a school bus one time. And I don't know if anybody, if you're a little bit older, you probably know this. You do these fundraisers at school, and they give you these little box, like 20 little candy bars, right? And they're like, hey, take these out and sell them for whatever. They're $1 a piece. And then when you sell them all, you bring in the money, and the school or the organization, whatever you're raising the money for, gets half the profit or whatever. So I remember being on the school bus one day after I just got these 20 candy bars in this little nice cardboard box, and I was hungry, and I thought, you know what? Just eat one of these on the way home, and I'll throw $1 in later. I got some money. And then pretty soon, you're turning that money in like 3 weeks later, and I'm like, 20 candy bars gone, and I only got $2 in this little pouch. I'd eaten like 18 of them myself. So I got to throw in the money and all that. So it's been a continuous theme ever since, pretty much I can remember. So anyway, enough's enough, right? So I talked to my doctor about, yeah, this medication might be bringing my blood sugar down a little, but I'm not doing anything else to help it. So, I said, hey, my wife's lost some weight on some of these GLP-1 medications, what are your thoughts? And he said, I think it'd be perfect for you. And I'm like, man, that's awesome. Why didn't anybody kind of recognize or tell me that before? And I don't know if it would have made a difference or not, because for one thing, I do know you have to be ready, right? Somebody else can want it for, and this is true with this is true with like alcoholism, drug addiction, any other sort of addiction. Like, that's the way I was looking at it. It was an addiction. And you have to be ready in any addiction to treat yourself, get better. So when I finally got ready and we had that conversation, he said, I think this would be awesome for you. And I said, look, talking to my doctor, I said, look, I know what to do. I know what to eat. I know all the healthy stuff, all that. I just can't do it. I said, I feel weak. I feel like I don't have any willpower, I should have all the motivation in the world, right? Got all this health stuff going on, but I just couldn't get it done. So he said, I said, I need something to help with the cravings, is what I called it when I talked to him. And he said, this will take care of that. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Is this what my wife was talking about? When it's like she's full after she eats just a little bit or whatever. So he gives me this medication, Manjaro. It's made by Eli Lilly, and there's others out there that are just as good. That's what he prescribed. The first, you give yourself an injection, and it's not with a needle, it's one of these, one-time injector things. So it works out good, no big deal. Took the first one I got the medicine like on a Wednesday. And look, I know I'm very fortunate in a lot of different ways. Some people will say that they're fortunate if they're diabetic and they have sleep apnea and they've got high blood pressure and they've got cancer, but I do feel very fortunate because I know not everybody's in the same situation as I am, and we all come from different backgrounds, different medical histories, different, economic situations. There's a lot of things that go into being able to have a drug like this. And some people can't be on it, for whatever reason. So when people say, it's never one size fits all anyway, in anything, right? Everybody's situation's different, but knowing what I know now, I would do, as long as medically I can be on this drug, I would do anything that I could to get this drug and stay on it. I mean, I know cost is huge. My insurance covers it right now because of I don't know if you put it under the sleep apnea, but that covers it on this one. The diabetes probably covers it because I tried the Jardiance first, and it didn't quite control it as well as he thought it should. So anyway, my insurance covers it. I know not everybody's like that. I know my wife, our insurance covered hers for a while, and then she started having to pay out of pocket. She's going through a compound pharmacy now. She's been at her goal weight for a long time now, and she's just kind of maintaining. But the beauty of this drug, and when I told him I wanted something that's going to help with the cravings, and he said, this will do it. Matter of fact, he said this, I'm not going to say this is a miracle drug, but then he kind of whispered, this is a miracle drug, as he's writing it out. And I didn't know what he's talking about. I did more research later and stuff and found out, this medication they're finding out more and more about all the time. It helps heart issues. It helps sleep apnea. It helps, obviously, your blood sugar levels. A huge one for me, which I'll talk about in a second, is it helps inflammation in the body. So anyway, when he said that, and I said, yeah, if my insurance covers it, let's try it. And, there's side effects with any medication, and they always list 1,000 of them, anybody that had anything in the trials. So it doesn't mean any one of those is going to affect you. You might have some worse side effects than others, whatever. It's worth a shot. No pun intended. So anyway, so I get on this medication. I get it, and literally that afternoon, Walmart's my pharmacy, they sent me a text and said, it's ready. I'm like, wow, that's cool. So it was covered. I pay a small copay. I go pick it up that afternoon. I think on my way home, got to stick in the refrigerator. 2.5 milligrams, one shot each week at 2.5 milligrams is kind of the starting dose. and I stuck it in the fridge. And this was like on a Wednesday, I believe. My wife does her shots on Saturday morning. So I thought, I'm going to start with her so we can do this together. And so I kept it in the fridge, for 2 or 3 days, which was awesome because I got to eat a lot more in those 2 or 3 days, right? Perfect. Because I know I'm going to help myself later, but now I can eat. So that was really cool. So anyway, Saturday morning rolls around and I jump on the scale, and I'll give all those numbers here in a minute on this awesome update. So just hang with me through the rest of the story here. And I do the shot. No big deal. You can do it in your stomach. I think the thigh. I think the back of your arm, either side. Sometimes people have different side effects from different locations. Whatever. If you do it, never do it in the same exact spot. I've always done it in my stomach, which is, I don't know, probably the most popular. I hear most people doing it there. And then you just rotate sides. One side, right side of your belly button. 2 or 3 inches the right side of your belly button one time. Next week you go over to the other side. Anyway, so I give myself this shot on Saturday morning. I didn't know what to expect, and literally, it was almost immediate. It was within hours for sure. Like, I realized I have not thought about food since I gave myself this shot. It was like amazing. Never felt like that before in my life. And like, I think we had dinner that night, and literally, like, I wasn't sick or anything like that from eating. I just didn't want any more. I actually felt a fullness, like the signal that everybody talks about, right? And it's just kept going ever since. I just took my 7th shot a couple days ago. So I've been on it 6 full weeks, and it is so awesome. It's like just a burden, like a relief that, you can walk in. I don't think about that. All that candy and stuff I used to eat, I don't think about it at all. Not to say that I couldn't have it if I wanted it, because I'm not like restricting and totally, taking away any food or anything like that. I know it's not healthy, but if I wanted it, whatever's a treat, I can do that. So I know it's there. People used to say, just don't keep it in your house. I'm like, dude, I have a car and 3 grocery stores within a couple of miles of our house and a bunch of convenience gas stations. I don't need it in my house. I'll go get it. If the car's not working, I'll walk to get it. That's how bad it was, right? But I don't want it now, and it's awesome. Like, I can have junk food, candy, whatever, ice cream sitting in the house. It doesn't matter to me because I don't want it. And that's awesome. There's a difference between like knowing I shouldn't have it and then eating it and feel guilty afterwards and all that kind of stuff, and the difference of actually just not wanting it. Never had that feeling before, and it was almost immediate. Everybody's different. I've heard people take a shot and it takes a few days, whatever. So this is just my story, and it's been that way ever since. You're supposed to stay on the 2.5 milligrams for like the first 4 weeks. That's kind of the standard, and then they bump you up to like 5. After about 3 weeks and a couple of days, I started feeling, I would always get a little bit hungry, like normal people should, non-overweight people should. But when I eat something now, like I'm like, I don't feel like I need to eat everything in the house. I can eat till I'm satisfied and done. So it's not like I never get hungry, but I can satisfy the hunger. It's so easy to satisfy now. Normal people, I say normal people, non-overweight people, I'd say. I'm imagining like this is what it's like for them. I've got friends, they're not overweight. And they would be like, yeah, tonight we're going to this birthday party, and I'm probably going to have a piece of cake and maybe even a little bit of ice cream, so I'm going to have a lighter lunch today. And I'm like, what? That made no sense to me. It's like, why would you eat less now? Because you're going to have something later. Totally get it. That's how a normal, non-overweight person thinks. I didn't have that ability to think that way. Medication gave me the ability to think that way. But what's cool is I would just have, in that scenario, I would just have like probably a less lunch because I'd be satisfied. And then if I wanted to have a piece of cake at this made up birthday party I'm telling you about, I might have like a quarter of a piece or a couple bites, not because like I'm still starving and I'm shoving it away. It's because I'm satisfied. I had a little bit, tasted good. Let's move on with life. So it's just been totally amazing, the mental change and the physical change. It's letting my brain and stomach connect is how I kind of think of it. So with all that being said, really great experience. You can have some side effects. I've had very few. Constipation is like a big one with a lot of these drugs, because what they do is they allow your brain, your stomach to communicate better, but they also slow your digestive system down. And with that being said, a lot of times constipation is an issue. I'm trying to stay really well hydrated, which I have been because I take this Jardiance and I pee all the time. So that isn't an issue. And I just feel like sometimes I think I'm dealing with a little constipation. This is real time constipation, but I don't think I have, because I'm used to going to the bathroom like twice a day, especially in the first thing in the morning. Well, if I don't go now, I'm like, I'm getting constipated. No, it's not true. It's just not only is my digestive system slowing down, I have less food in there than I would normally would have before anyway. So I don't need to go to the bathroom as often. So that's a big one. Fatigue. I did have fatigue a couple of different times where I felt like totally exhausted by that. I mean, like carry something out of the store and carry it and put it in your car, and then you feel like you can't lift your arms back up again. I mean, that's major fatigue. That's just not being tired. But I can't really say that it was because of this medication, because I had some of that with the immunotherapy I did for the cancer. So anyway, before I give this cool update for this week, something that really has been beneficial besides just, and then I found out that thinking about food all the time, and that what I called, cravings and addiction, it's called food noise. I had no clue that was a term. But researching it more and looking into things like food noise makes total sense. It's like that's all you think about. It's in your head all the time, constantly. I mean, I remember like you get ready to go to bed, even you'd like, man, I need a little bit of sugar to get me through the night here. That's how bad it was. So food noise, perfect term for it. Got rid of all of that, which is cool. So I've white knuckled, losing some weight over the years. I went to Weight Watchers with my wife a couple times over the years, and basically I went because they would sell snacks there, and you could buy the Weight Watchers snacks and stuff. Remember getting on the scale one time. You go weigh in weekly, right? And they have this meeting afterwards. We never stayed for the meetings because that was our cheat day. We could go eat afterwards, right? Got to get to the food first. But I remember getting on the scale one time, and the lady was like, looked at me and shook her head, and she was about 98 years old and about as big around as a pencil. And she said, "Did you have fun last week?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She said, "Looks like it." Wrote my number down on my book, handed it back to me. So there's a lot of like, not much encouragement, more or less like, letting you know how bad you did if you screwed it up. So anyway, that's all behind me. I don't feel any of that anymore. And look, I'm not bashing on Weight Watchers or anything else. Everybody's different. You got to do what, works for you. But we're all in the same boat. If we're wanting to get healthy together, let's do it together. So where was I going with all that? I don't know. Anyway, I know what it was. So I was supposed to go up to 5, and I told my wife, I said, I'm gonna stay on this 2.5 milligrams longer than a month if I can, because my doctor said, let's just see how you feel. He said, very good doctor, right? He's like, let's just see how you feel, and we'll adjust it up or down. We can't go down, but we'll adjust it up as needed. And he said some people do have some, they get nauseated, and if you're getting too nauseated on 2.5 milligrams, we'll just stay on it for another month or whatever. So I never would really nauseated though, but I thought, if it's working, why go up? So I got to about week, I took my 4th shot, so I was going in the last few days before I needed to call and get the refill. And I just started feeling a little more hunger, thinking about food just a little bit more than I was. And I thought, man, I don't want to be stuck with 2.5 milligrams for another 4 weeks. So I did have him bump me up to 5, no problem. He called it in. And it's just held everything just like it was on the 2.5. No more side effects, but it's been just as effective. So that being said, I started 6 weeks ago, and I am down. I wrote this down so I won't forget because I'm getting older. So 6 weeks ago, I started at 279.4 pounds. That wasn't the highest I've ever been. I remember a buddy of mine trying to lose some weight several years ago. I have to equate everything to COVID, so it was a couple, 2 or 3 years before COVID. When we started losing weight together, I jumped on the scale and I was 320. So somehow I managed to white knuckle it down from 320 to 279.4. There's probably some up and downs in there too over that time. But anyway, when I started this 6 weeks ago, 279.4 pounds. When I weighed in last week, so after 6 weeks, it was 258.4, 21 pounds in 6 weeks, okay? That's 3.5 pounds a week average, right? It's not normal, not at all. I mean, the more weight you have to lose, the quicker you're gonna lose it. You're gonna lose a lot of water weight and stuff initially. Don't let me forget to tell you about the inflammation here before I go. Anyway, 3.5 pounds a week, that's pretty high. The average is like 0.5 pound to 2 pounds a week. That's considered a normal, healthy, average weight loss. But it's not like I lose 3.5 every week for 6 weeks, right? I mean, it's constantly going down, but it's like, go down a little more and then level a little more. So an example, so week 5 last week, and matter of fact, I made a video and I said GLP like week 5. I think I said failure with a question mark on it, because I used to think like that. Like I'd been doing well, and then last week or week 5, I lost less than 0.5 pound. I lost 0.4 pounds. And I said it then, and I'll say it again, it doesn't matter, because if I lose 0.4, nothing. I gain 1 pound, I lose 6 pounds in a week. It doesn't matter, because it's been, I hate to say easy, but it really has been easy. And it's amazing. So, I mean, you just live day by day without all the food noise. And then you get on the scale once a week just to kind of check. The scale's not an end all be all, because like I said, it doesn't really measure. When you lose weight, you're going to lose fat. You're also going to lose some muscle, no matter what you do. So, you can lose some scale weight. Maybe you lost more muscle than you did fat that week. So anyway, the scale is just one indicator, and it's easy to do. And I do it once a week. Some people do it once a day. I can't, that wouldn't mess with my mind, because your weight varies up and down day to day. Some people weigh more than one time a day. So I get on there Saturday morning before I take my shot, and I weigh myself just to kind of check, and then take my shot and go on and live my life without thinking about food all the time, which is awesome. So anyway, 3.5 pounds a week's, way above the average. I'm happy with it. I haven't had to force myself to do anything weird to get there. So week 5 was only 0.4 pounds. Didn't think it was a failure at all. I thought it was awesome. So last week, week 6, here it is. I lost 4.2 pounds. Wow, that's way above my average of 3.5 so far if you average it out. So I think what sometimes what happens too is, depending on what you ate the night before, like Friday night for me, might have had some more salty food than normal, cause you to retain some water. So, I get on there and it's only 0.4. Maybe I've lost like 1.5 pounds of body fat, but I'm holding water. So again, the scale is one number and it doesn't really reflect. And the next week, maybe I didn't lose 4.2 pounds of fat. Maybe I lost, closer to 2.5, but got rid of the water weight from the week before. So regardless, I'm just staying on it and keeping consistent, and it'll happen. Anyway, my other numbers that are hugely important to me is I want to get off all the medication that I can. I want to get off the blood pressure medication. I want to get off I say that. I want to get off the Jardiance for the blood sugar levels. I want to get off the CPAP, which I think just by losing weight, period, that I'll be able to do that, hopefully. I know there are people that aren't overweight that have sleep apnea. I know, I've got friends that do. So, but again, I'm trying to stack the deck in my favor and do everything that I can control myself. The only medication that I will probably be on as long as I possibly can is this medication that I'm on right now, Mounjaro, or some form of this GLP-1, whether it be a compound pharmacy version, whether it be a different, they're coming out with stuff all the time. There's like 16 medications right now going through the trial process. There's, I think, even some like oral medications, some pills have been approved already by the FDA. So might not even have to give yourself a shot. Although giving yourself a shot to get what I've gotten out of it so far, I'd give myself a shot 3 times a day, every day, if this is what I can get out of it. So money-wise, if my health insurance didn't cover this, like my wife's paying some out of pocket for hers, I mean, I would do whatever I could. I'll have to do a video on some numbers, like how much money I'm saving, like ridiculous amounts of money on lunch that I'm saving, because I would go out, you know, and I'd have to get a couple pieces of pizza from the gas station. What if you've got a Casey's gas station near you, but the pizza's awesome there. All their food's good. Get a couple pieces of pizza of that, some chips, a drink, diet, of course, because I don't want to overdo it. And, you know, my candy, right? I mean, I could literally spend 18 to 20 bucks a day for lunch. $100, $80 to $100 a week, probably. I need to add it all up because it's shocking. So that money that I'm saving from that alone would pay for medication. So anyway, I would do whatever it took. If I had to sell this house and get a smaller house with a smaller mortgage, sell that truck out in the driveway, which, man, I like that truck. Or if I had to get a second job, I'm doing whatever. If I had to pay for all this out of pocket, I'd do whatever I can to get it, knowing what I know now. That's just me. Not saying that you should need or do that, but it's just kind of perspective from my point. Anyway, so some other numbers that are really important is that glucose, that blood sugar average, and then my blood pressure, which are the ones I can check at home. I have a glucose meter I punch my finger with, and it, you know, stick myself, all that, check the blood. And then I have a blood pressure cuff thing. So anyway, my glucose average, this is to give you an idea of the, you know, what's happening, trending. So week 4, I'm trying to do my blood sugar twice a day, first thing in the morning, and then in the evening, like a couple hours after I eat my dinner. So week 4, my average, if you average 2 times a day over the course of the week 4 I was at like 109, which is, holy cow, amazing. Not saying my glucose doesn't go over 109, but the 2 times that I take it, that's the average. The week 5, 106, so it went down 3 points. Now this week 6, I'm down to, where am I at here? Week 6, 103. So my blood sugar levels went from 109 to 106 to 103, so trending all in the right direction. Again, maybe ups and downs along the way, but it's trending in the right direction. My blood pressure last week averaged, taking it twice a day, once in the morning, once at night, and I average all that out. It's 117/69, which is really good. I'm taking medication for my blood pressure though, right? But before I started this 6 weeks ago, my blood pressure wasn't 117/69, and I was taking the medication then too. So all these things tell me that I'm heading in the right direction. So to kind of wrap up everything, very happy with where things are. Thank you for reminding me, the inflammation. So when I was on this immunotherapy for cancer, it ramps up your immune system and lets your body fight the cancer. By doing that, your immune system can kind of get kicked into overdrive and start causing issues, like it can actually attack your organs and different things. But when you have a very aggressive cancer in your body, that's kind of something that you don't really worry about too much at the time, because if you don't try to take care of the cancer, you're not going to have to worry about that anyway. So And I didn't have that, but I did have a lot of inflammation issues where my immune system was just in overdrive, and inflammation was really bad. I mean, my joints, all of my joints, my muscles, I mean, I got to the point where I couldn't hardly get out of a chair. And they put me on prednisone, which is a steroid. Wasn't on a super high dose of it, it's an oral pill. And man, it really helped, like felt normal again. But they don't want you on prednisone long term, it's not good. Probably like a lot of these drugs. So anyway, I was really excited when I read about these GLP-1s and how, there's the studies that are out on reducing inflammation. So with my doctors, I was trying to wean myself off of this prednisone, and so far so good. 3 weeks in a row, or 3 times in a row, I guess I should say, because I'm doing like a 4-week, drop it down a little bit, 4-week. Anyway, I was on 10 milligrams. I'm down to like 5 now. I did 7.5 for a month. Now I'm down to 5. No issues whatsoever with joint pain or muscle pain or anything. So I'm hoping that this Manjaro that I'm on is helping that inflammation, and I'm going to be able to get off the prednisone as well. Because the prednisone can affect your kidneys and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, that's kind of the story, and that's kind of the update. And I mean, this is just me telling my story. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you what to do. I'm giving you what I've done, and I hope you can find something, useful. I don't really like the word motivating, but something you can relate to, and that we can all do this together if you're in the same boat as me. So in a non-judgmental, positive way. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you found this helpful, like this video, please subscribe to this health reset that I'm doing, and comment, send messages, send questions. If you have any questions you want me to address, like in the next update, I'd be glad to do that. If you'd like to tell me your story, if you'd like me to interview you on a video, and you want to help people, something really cool, I'd like to give a shout out to a friend of mine, Sherry. Sent me a message last week and again this week. Friend of mine, her and her husband are friends of my wife and I, and she's like, hey, I watched this video, it's awesome, I need to get healthy, I'm going too. And this week she said my husband's in on it too. So stuff like that's why I kind of wanted to put this out there. Most people don't want to talk about their weight and their health issues and all this stuff, right? I don't care. I don't care if people make fun of me. I don't care if people don't like it. They're not in my shoes. I'm not in your shoes. So I don't care about any of that. All I care about is if I can help other people, I'm going to keep doing it. And when I get messages like that, and I get messages from other people, because I have already, then I'm going to keep doing it. So yeah, let's do it together, and I will see you in the next update. Bye-bye.